Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Wow. Amar Mar. Daf Kuf Tesvav on the base all the way in the bottom. Got it? Kuf Tesvav on the base, 3 lines from the bottom. Hakol Ksherim Li Karev. Every type of animal you can bring on a bama before the Beis Hamikdash. In other words, you can bring a giraffe, you can bring a buffalo, you can bring a chicken. All these animals that you can't bring in the Beis Hamikdash, you can bring on a bama, provided that they're kosher. Noach brought every type of kosher animal, all kosher birds, every single one. He didn't leave any out. If it was kosher, he brought it. Says the Gemara, behema k'mashmai. Behema means a behema, like what? Like a cow, a goat, a sheep. Chaya b'chlal behema. What does that mean? So we look at the pasuk over here. Look at this pasuk in Dvarim. The Torah describes all the kosher animals. It says zois ha-behema. This is a behema. And what does pasuk Hey say? Ariel, utzvi, v'yachmor. These are not behemoths. What are these? These are chayas. A deer is a chaya. Yachmor, ba'akoy. If you went to the safari, a bunch of us in this room went on one trip together, right? Shmakmoid. Ayol tzvi yachmor, ba'akoy, v'dishoy, usa'oy v'zomer. But it says zois ha-behema. So you see that the Torah calls all these chayas a behema. Okay, so you could bring on the mizbeach, you could bring a wilde chaya, a wildebeest. Wildebeest, I think we're also kosher. I don't know, we decided they're kosher. Fine. Chaya b'chlal behema. Now we're holding on top of Kufta Zayin Amud Aleph. Zachar v'nekeva is tmimim balamum. You could even bring in a keva, you could bring a zachar, but here's the big chiddush. You can bring a balmum, something that has a blemish. It has a broken bone, where in the Beis Hamikdash it's definitely aser. You can bring blemish. I'm just going to read these words over here, even though they take them out. It's interesting. When I looked it up, I couldn't believe it, but I said it in Shir. Did you guys know that most birds, they don't have a male and a female? They do, but they don't have zachros. They don't have, you can't, a human being won't be able to see which one is a male and not. So that's why in the Beis Hamikdash, there's no difference between a male and a female bird. Hey, look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. But also, there's no tamus, meaning by bird, there's no such thing as a balmum, unless it's missing a limb. So, life, and so there's another pasuk over here. It says in the same pasuk, and it says ha'if. So birds and the behemoths are the same. It's just like by a bird, there's no zachar nekeva, and there's no balmum, so too by an animal. But if it's missing a limb, that even a ben noach cannot bring on his bama. A bama, for those of you who are new here, means a private mizbeach. They used to have it on the rooftops, in the backyard. They had a private. So you can bring any type of animal you want if it's kosher, besides a balmum. Now, if you had a guess, let's play a game. What type of animal could noach not bring onto his mizbeach? So we just said. No, chaya, yes, tamei not, but a missing limb. What else? Here, so let's see this one. Here we go. There's 3 that we're going to be discussing. B'chusar Ever. What else? Anybody? Take a guess. No. Treifa. Treifa, like a hole in the heart. It's not going to live for a year. Boom. Can't. And there's one more. I'm not going to tell you. If you can't figure it out, we're going to learn it inside. Here we go. Omar Rebbe Lazar. How do you know if it's missing a limb? A ben noach or noach himself can't bring it onto the teva. Which is a double lashon chai basar. We learn from this pasuk that all their limbs must be alive and well. Not just the animal is alive, but the limbs also. Perhaps it's coming to exclude an animal that has a hole in the lungs, heart. I think there's 24 treifas, not going to live for most shitas hold that it's something that's not going to live for more than a year. Maybe it's coming to exclude a treifa. Says the Gemara, no. It says, Akash Baruch Hu tells Noach, I need you to bring all these animals onto the table. Why? Why all these animals? What was the point? Anybody? What was the point? The point is to continue, that there should be a continuation of animals in the world. There should be monkeys, elephants, all these things. Hashem wanted them to exist. So if he wants them to exist, they can't be a treifa, because a treifa can't have children. So Hashem wanted him to have animals that could reproduce. Says Gemara, but that's great. There's a machlokes whether a treifa could have children or not. Just because it has a hole in the heart doesn't mean it can't have children. So one man says it can have children, great. So it comes from zera that you can't have a treifa. But if the pshat is, if the truth is that a treifa could have children, Michael Meimar, where do you see that the Torah is excluding it? So perhaps Mukala comes to exclude a treifa, not a balmum or mechosei. So the Gemara, Amakra itach b'daimulach. Hashem tells Noach, I want you to bring animals onto the teva that are similar to you. Zakti Gemara. Amakra itach b'daimulach. So Hashem tells Noach, you should bring animals onto the teva that are similar to you. So therefore, just like you're not a treifa, so too the animals that you bring onto the teva shouldn't be a treifa. Says Gemara, V'dilma Noach gufei treifa. Who told you? Maybe Noach is a treifa. So Taisus asks a great kasha here. Based on what I said, it's a great kasha. It says Taisus here. It's not. It's going to get there. We know Noach lived 300 years after the Mabel. So how in the world could it be a treifa? You're asking me, maybe Noach was a treifa when he brought these animals onto the deva, but if we just said that a treifa can't live for more than a year, how did Noach live for 300 years? And the fact that he lived 300 years after the Mabel, obviously it wasn't a treifa. So he goes on to say, okay, so this goes like the mandama that says that you could live more, he was actually weaker, okay. So the Gemara says, Tamim ksebei. It says that he was tamim, he was whole, he was not a treifa. But perhaps it means that he's not whole, his body's whole. It means that he was a good person. It says tzaddik ksebei. That already is included in the word tzaddik. Dilma tamim b'drachav tzaddik b'masav. Maybe tamim means that he was an anav. Tzaddik means that he didn't steal like the rest of the generation. So if Noach was in fact a treifa, would Hashem tell him, oh, I want you to bring only animals that are similar to you? Hashem said, bring out. So if he's a treifa, Hashem would say, bring only treifa animals onto the teiva. It doesn't make any sense. So once we're learning from itach, so why do I need the pasuk l'chai zera? That they should be able to reproduce. Perhaps Hashem said you should bring animals on the table to keep you company. You're going to be there for a year. You need some company. A pet dog, a pet lion, So therefore, I would think afilu zaken, afilu saris. Maybe it means even animals that are old can't reproduce. Saris says the Gemara. Tahirim abalei tmeim. When we have it tmeim utahirim ba'ishata. It's in the time of Noach. Noach didn't have. What was a tummy animal? What's a non-kosher animal? Yes, you have to be gars over here. Noach, he chose the animals that are going to be kosher, and the ones that are not going to be kosher, he took 2. The ones that are going to be kosher, he took 14, 7 and 7. But how did Noach know? Says the Gemara, Rav Chisda, he brought them in front of the teva. When the teva took 7 of the males, 7 females, he realized that kosher. But if the teva didn't accept them, they were tamei. So basically, it's not that Noach brought these animals in front of the teva, and the teva decided. They came. Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave them the chachma to come, 2 zebras, 14 giraffes, v'chulu. Omer Mar. V'akol karvu oilos. All these animals that were brought by the bama, it was all oilos. That's it. The only carbon they were brought was the oila. As the Gemara Oilas in Shlamim Loi, what about Shlamim? V'ksiv v'yizbuchu Zevachim Shlamim la'Hashem parim. There was Shlamim in the time of Noach. Eleima kol karvu Oilos Shlamim. They brought Oilos and Shlamim. V'tanya v'Shlamim Loi kim Oilos. But what do we do about the fact that it said that only Bnei Yisrael brings Shlamim? Oilos and Shlamim Loi. Kiman da'amar le karvu Shlamim b'nei Noach. It goes according to Madam. It says that Noach and his generation didn't bring Shlamim. The Idmar. So we have machlokes. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina, Chadamar, Karvu Shlamim b'nei Noach. One says that in the time of Noach there was Shlamim. Chadamar like Karvu, there was not. My time in the Mandamar, Karvu Shlamim b'nei Noach. What's the reason? The Chsiv, the Hevel Hevi. Think about it. Famous Cain and Hevel. Hevel brought a carbon, brought sheep. What do you do? What kind of carbon was it? Hevi gamu b'chayres Sinai u'melchaveim, and from the fats. Now, if it was an oila, the entire oila goes onto the mizbeach. So why does it say fats? What kind of carbon do we bring fats onto the mizbeach? Here we go. We use this picture a bunch of times just to remind the guys. This is a murim. So from kachim kalim, such as shlamim, you only bring certain parts of the animal, and one of the parts, if you look closely, is the fat right over there, the white stuff. What's the other stuff? Anybody remember? Kidneys, and what else? Skirt steak. Very good. Here, kidneys. This is the fat that goes above the kidney. So that fat goes to the... This guy's kishmak, no? Great. And then you have the skirt steak. So Viserys are covered. Great. Okay. So that can only be from a shlamim, not from an oila. And what's the reasoning for the manama that says that Bnei Noach did not bring shlamim? Like shake off the nation that only brings karbanos in the north of the Beis Hamikdash. What carbon do we bring in the north and not in the south? All kachim. So that means oila. The nation that brings oila, meaning Bnei Noach, betavei uma, b'klai Yisrael, shemaaseha, batsafin ubadarim. Klai Yisrael brings shlamim, which is in the south of the Beis Hamikdash, of the Mizbeach, and oila, which is in the north. Umar nami yoksiv u'mechalveim. So now we just have to figure out what each one does with the other one's limud. It says u'mechalveim that Bnei Noach brought the skirt steaks and the fats. It says Gemara, no, that Hevel didn't bring chalveim. Misham nehoin, he brought the fat ones. He brought the bigger, the better karbanis. Not from the carbon he brought the fats of that carbon. He brought the fattest, the juiciest behemoths that he had. Umar nami yoksiv u'ritzafin. And what does the other one do with the pasuk that seems like that nation that only brought oilas stays with oilas, and Klai Yisrael brings shlamim. In other words, Goyim don't bring shlamim. Ahu b'kibbutz galus u'chsiv. It's referring to when Mashiach comes, Be'ezer Hashem, Klai Yisrael is going to come from all over the place, from the tzafan and darm. It's not talking about the type of korbanos. I forgot, you also went on the safari with us. Great. It says, think about it. Oilos, but what's the word right before oilos? Zevachim. What does that mean? Must mean shlamim. So you see that they brought shlamim b'nei Noach. It says, no, Zevachim la'achila. It means they ate steaks. It wasn't a carbon. Va'oilos la'krav. It only brought oilos. Next week's parasha, huh? Missed it by a week. Yisroi, the father-in-law of Moshe, brought oila uzvachim. So what did he bring? He brought Zevachim. You see that he brought Zevachim. He brought Shlamim. Says Gemara, that's after Matan Torah. No, when Yisrael brought the Shlamim, that was after Matan Torah. So now we go in a little bit of a gata. When did Yisrael come? When did he become Jewish? According to the Mandam, it says he came after Matan Torah. Great. So you don't have this answer that it happened after Matan Torah. He came before Matan Torah. So what's special about Bnei Rebbe Chia? Anybody remember? From Shas. Bnei Rebbe Chia, who are they? What's special about them? They were twins. What about Rabbi Shua ben Levi? Anybody remember anything about Rabbi Shua ben Levi? He went into Gan Eden, he like tricked the Malach HaMavos, and he went to Gan Eden, and he couldn't kill him. The whole story with him. This is machlokes when Yisrael existed, before the giving of the Torah or after. Okay, you're right. If you say that Yisrael came before Matan Torah, so then he has to hold also that Bnei Noach actually brought Shlom. That's why it says that Yisrael brought oil and Shlom. Says the Gemara, Ma shmua shama uba v'nizgayer. I think there's a very powerful sentence over here. It says in the Torah, remember this for next week. Vayishma Yisroi koyen midyan. Ask the Gemara, Ma shmua shama uba v'nizgayer. What exactly did it hear? What did he hear? So let's read one line and let's go back. So we have a whole machlokes. What did he hear? Milchemes Amalek shama. He heard about the big war with Amalek, and Klal Yisrael destroyed Amalek. So now let's go back. Ma shmua shama uba v'nizgayer. Every guy heard about Milchemes Amalek. Rabbi Shua Omer Milchemes Amalek shama sharei ksib tzida b'yachli sheyeshua si Amalek v'samel lefi charev. Zog the Gemara Rabbi Lazar Amidoy Omer Matan Torah shama uba. He heard about Matan Torah. Kishenitna shekishenitna Torah liYisrael koyla haylach misoyfa oilam at soyfai. His voice went from one side, the sound went from one side of the world to the other. All the kings of the nations, Achazas and Rada, they were so fearful by Chaleim in their palaces, Vamru Shira. And they said Shira. But you see, that's the difference. Saying Shira, saying thank you, I believe in Hashem, and actually stepping out of your palace, going to Klal Yisrael, becoming a ger. Shenemar uveichaloi kuloi oimer kavod. The guys of Kulam until Bilam Rasha. Now they all went to Bilam, which happens to be in our parish this week, because they came to Paras the Eitzah. One of the people giving Eitzah is Bilam. They knew that he knows more than them. What's this crazy noise that we heard? You come the next morning, you wake up, like, what do? You turn on the news, you're in Bilam's time, there's no WhatsApp. What was that noise? What happened? So they go to Bilam. That's the only answer. You have to go to a Navi, maybe he knows. So you go to Bilam. What do we hear? Is this some sort of mabel coming to the world? Hashem lamabel yashav. Amar lehem vayeshev Hashem melech lo'olam. That what? Kfar nishba kosh baruch hu she'enoi maybe mabel lo'olam. It's actually mefurish a pasuk here. V'akimoisi is brisi itchem v'lo'ikares kol basar oid mei mabel. We learned in school when we were kids. Hashem said there'll never be a mabel again. So they said, oh, very good. So there won't be a mabel of water, but there's still a tremendous noise. So maybe mabel sh'mayim maybe. Maybe he'll bring a storm of fire. The Hashem, the judge of Hashem is going to be fire. No, even a fiery, there's no fiery end to humanity. Hashem is not going to do that again. So, but what's this big noise that we heard? Hashem has something very special jewel, whatever you chemda. I don't know how to describe chemda. Like something you'll see in a second what it is. In his treasure. Tough is 400, right? So 400 plus 400 is 800. Tough, kuf plus 100 is 900. Ayin dalid 74. 974. In other words, just short of 1,000 generations. It's supposed to be 1,000, but Hashem gave it to us a little earlier. Before the world was created. He wanted to give it to his sons. Hashem Hashem yivarech es amoy v'ashal. I can't even sing because it's so late at night. Hashem yivarech es amoy v'ashal. Rebbe Lezer Omer Kriyas Yams. Okay, so another sheet is that it was Matan Torah. Rebbe Lezer Omer Kriyas Yamsuf Shama Ba. Yisrael heard about the Kriyas Yamsuf. Here, this is fresh for today. There's the ones of Klal Yisrael going. This is the Kriyas Yamsuf destroying the Egyptians. Gishmak. Okay. Shenemar v'yichishmoy komachi amoyri. Oh, V'afrachav hazoyna omro l'shluchi Yeshua. This is unbelievable Gemara. The famous Rachav, she was on the wall over there when Yeshua sent the people into Israel to see what's going on. So she hid them in her house. How did they get in? They climbed up the wall with a rope. They went through the window, and then when the cops showed up, she said, "I don't know what you're talking about. They already left," and she hid them in the flax. Right in the beginning of Yeshua, you guys know what I'm talking about? Great. This is Rachav, the Zaina. Kishamanu is asher hoivish Hashem es mei yamsuf. Maishna Hassam. So the Gemara says, you see that she even heard about the Yamsuf. Everybody, every guy heard, even a low-level person like Rachav heard about Kriyas Yamsuf. Maishna Hassam the Amar. Now the Gemara just like Agadata. Why does it say over there? The Amairis, they didn't have the spirit anymore. They couldn't fight Klal Yisrael. They're too psychologically they were done. Kama is the lashon of standing. Like kama oid ruach bish. Says the Gemara Daf Kufta Zayin on Beis. Da'afilu akshuye nami lo yikashu. Their body wasn't in a position to have relationships. The men weren't ready. So the Gemara says, how would a woman know what's going on by the man? So the Gemara says, the Omar Mar in l'chakol sar v'noged shloi ba'al rachav hazoyna. She was a professional. She had relations with every single important person. She was only 10 years old when Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim. And she had znos for 40 years straight. When she was 50 years old, she became a Giyaris. Amra, she said, Hashem should forgive me. This rope, this window, this flax that I used to hide my clients, I used to bring them up the rope and then hide them from their wives and from whoever within the flax. I used those three things to save these Jews, and that's why you should be Moichel me. Omar, how do you know that a guy could bring karbanas? Trump could bring a carbon today on Obama. The Tanur Rabbanan Daber Bnei Yisrael, it's only a Jew has an isser to bring a carbon outside of the Beis Hamikdash. They don't have a problem. Every guy could build a bama in their backyard and sacrifice a carbon, any type of carbon they want. You are not permitted to help them out, and you cannot shecht for them, do anything for them. But to teach them and how to do it, that you could do. And the Gemara brings a great story to prove this point. She was very friendly with Rava. There's a few stories in Shas with her and Rava. She was the mother of the king, non-Jew. Shadra Kurban al Rava, she sent a carbon to Rava, Shalchalei, and she said, I want you to put it up there for Hashem. Amr Luhu, the Rav Safra, the Rav Acha, Rav Huna, so he sent two Talmidim, Zilu V'davru Trei Ulmei Gulai. Take two lads, Goyim, that are the same age. It's very interesting. Super makbid over here. What's the perfect way to build a bama? First, you can't build it. So first, you see over here, it has to be a non-Jew. Two non-Jews the same age, because the same age is beautiful. It's like something special. Go find, this is also incredible. It reminds me of the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon says that if you were to build a shul from scratch, but that everything was from scratch, even the shovel had no tumah to it, and you had l'shem shamayim, and everybody that built it was a Jew that did it, and everything was it would be a shul that can never be destroyed. Have over here, he says, take dirt that was never used. Well, no, big deal. Dirt, no, you have to go to the ocean, and when the ocean pushes the dirt in, grab that, use that, to take brand new wood. And that's going to be a little bit of a discussion for a few lines. Wood on a bama, does it have to be brand new or not? Over here it says brand new wood. You have to take a piece of metal, a brand new piece of metal, strike it on a stone, where from that you'll have that little spark and you'll light the fire. In other words, again, even the fire, the matches that you're using have to be brand new. Listen, she asked that it should be towards Hashem, perfect. I'm telling you how to do it in the most perfect way possible. Vaskuna halei l'shem shamayim, and do the whole thing l'shem shamayim. Amar Leiba, Kimaki Rabbi Elazar ben Shammua, the Tanya Rabbi Elazar ben Shammua. Omer, this must go according to Rabbi Elazar ben Shammua. Mizbeach shel yishtamesh bo hediyot, afeitzin shel yishtamesh bo hediyot. It can't be wood that was once used. As the Gemara of Amadi Rabbi Elazar ben Shammua, bebama, but on a bama you could have wood that was used. You don't need brand new. Sanya kasav echad omer. Oh, so let's just preface this. When there's a big magefa in the time of David HaMelech, he counted the Jews. Hashem punished a bunch of Jews. A bunch of people died. So Hashem said, "You want to stop it? Buy this plot of land from Aravna, where he used to thresh the wheat." It turns out that that place was what? Harabais, for the Makam of the Migdash. He said, "Go take that place, bring some korbanos there." Aravna was so excited that there was going to be korbanos. The king is going to do korbanos on his name. He said, "I'll give it to you for free." No, I don't want anything for free. How much do you want? Turns out he paid him 600 gold. But it says in another pasuk, 50 silver. So which one is it? Gold, silver, 50, 600, big difference. 600 gold. It was silver and it was 50. Okay, it's that. Whoa, what's the shot? If you take from each shevet 50, 50 times 12 equals 600. There's a problem that we didn't address yet, is that is it gold or silver? But the number, okay, we could go from 50 to 600, I get. Okay, there's two prices here. There's a small piece of real estate that's only worth 50 because that's the size of a little bama, whatever. But then he had to purchase the entire Harabais that's much larger, so that cost 600. The small spot where he did the carbon, that was 50. The animals, the wood, and the place was 50. And the rest of the Harabais is 600. Listen, and this is the raya over here. It's a tool that we're going to see what it looks like. Use these tools. Imagine I tell you, take my shovel, take my rake, take all these things, use it as wood. Isn't that old wood? It's not brand new, it's old wood. So you see, you can use old wood for a bama. Rav Amar Lach, but Rav is going to say, yes, it was a shovel, it was brand new, and the plastic still had the it was in a box still. He took it out from Amazon, and then he gave him a shovel. Here, take. My marigim. What does it mean, marigim? Amar Ola Midashul Turbo. My Midashul Turbo. I love when the Gemara does that. Yeah? It's man. What's man? It's a big dvash. What's a big dvash? But I don't know what it is. What's a murgim? Turbo. Shkoyach. And what's a turbo? A Midashul Turbo. Amar Abaya. Iza, the carcass, this is even worse. Iza, which is a goat, the carcassa, the daishin dishay. It's like sharp blades, chodosh, balpefias, a lot of mouths, like it has a lot of these blades, sharp blades. Makle Rava Lebre, Rava tells his son this exact question that we had before, and he tells him the contradiction. On the one hand it says 600 gold, and the other pasuk says 50 silver. Okay, he took from each shevet 50, which adds up to 600. But it's still a question. What do you do with the silver and the zav? You should collect. You collect silver which weighs 600 gold. In other words, nobody had gold coins. They all had silver. They all had dollar bills that equaled that amount of gold. The what's the word I'm looking for? The currency was silver. That's what they collected. They collected silver, but it adds up to 600 gold. One small sugi over here. It says that when you have these the lighter animals like a shlamim, you could eat it in the time of before we had the Beis Hamikdash, you eat it in all the encampment of Yisrael. In all the places of Yisrael, not so much the camp. What, they didn't have camps in the Midbar? So anyway, Yerushalayim laharabais machne Yisrael. So let's see this. We're holding over here, this one. So these are the three camps. We have the Beis Hamikdash, we have the Harabais, and then we have all of Yerushalayim up onto the walls of Yerushalayim. So all the green is called Machne Yisrael. Yerushalayim la'Harabayis is Machne Yisrael. Harabayis is Shar Nikoner, and from the blue, all the blue, the whole Harabayis, until the entrance of the Beis Hamikdash, everything is blue. It's called Machne Levia. The Kambeilach, and everything beyond that point in the red is called Machne Shechina. The Hein Hein Klaim Sheba Midbar. So these are the curtains in the Midbar, right over here. You see these curtains. That's like the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim. Oh, so you see that they did have a Machna in the Midbar. That even if Klal Yisrael picked themselves up in the desert and moved, you're still considered within the camp of Yisrael, even though it's moving. What's the problem? Says Gemara Pshita. Well, the same you pass Lubi, I'd say, I would think, since they're moving, so you have to break down the Mishkan. If you break down the Mishkan, then you actually went out. Like, you can't take a carbon and go out of Yerushalayim. You can't take a carbon and go out of the Beis Hamikdash. Certain carbonates you have to eat in the Beis Hamikdash. Certain carbonates you have to eat in Yerushalayim. But if you take a carbon that you're supposed to eat in the Beis Hamikdash and you take it into Yerushalayim, that's Yaitse. It's possible. If you take a carbon you're supposed to eat in all of Yerushalayim, you take it to Bet Shemesh, you take it to Tel Aviv, Yaitse. So over here, I took the Beis Hamikdash, I folded it up, so to speak. I took the whole Mishkan, broke it down to pieces, and that's it. So I put it away. Once I put it away, everything in the world becomes Yaitse. It's out. It's gone. It's like taking the Beis Hamikdash, lifting it up, sending it away to New York. So says the Gemara, Mal the same possible Yaitse because you broke it down. Kamash Malon. Maybe you did. Maybe it is Yaitse. It's already put away in boxes. Amakrav and also Oil Mayid. The Oil Mayid should travel. Avapisha Nosa Oil Mayid. Who the Torah still calls it Oil Mayid even though it's traveling. So it's never Yaitse. Rabbi Sai, thank you so much for coming. Have a wonderful day, wonderful evening here in New York.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.